them at.oow. That is what we call them. There's a place on the bow of this boat, which is wide. There's a platform there. And a man stands there. And when they get to the village, they never go right to the beach. This is what we're going to talk about now, the respect that they had for each other. This is out of respect. These big canoes that they had was Haida canoes. Only the rich Tlingit people, the big shots, were able to buy these big Haida canoes. The Haidas were the best boat builders, and that was where the red cedar was. And we don't have red cedar in this country, up here. So all the big canoes were bought up from the Haida country. And we always want to want to correct the people when they say that it's a war canoe. When they write books about us, they always make sure they put war in there. The warlike people, the people killing each other. But a lot of those stories are not true. Like this boat. It is not called the war canoe. It is called at.oow. We have to start calling these things that belong to the Tlingit people by what we call it, not by what other people call it. The canoes traveled all over the place. They traveled down south. They traveled to California. It wasn't known as California. And they traveled up to the Arctic Ocean. We have a name for the polar bear. And the only way that we could get a name for the polar bear is if our ancestors were up there. And they did go up there in their canoes. And the polar bear, the name that they had for it is Katzeek, underwater brown bear. That's the name that we had for the polar bear. Katzeek, that is what we call the Eskimos, or that's what they call them. They have a story about the Aleutian Island. They knew about that too. They say Raven saw a whale swimming out and he got some rocks and he started throwing rocks at the whale. And that's what made the Aleutian Island. And that's the truth. So don't let anybody else tell you different. But these are stories that are told, and the way that they tell it is so you can remember it. Our people were there, so they know about it. You have a canoe here in Sitka. There was a ceremony that was done before the tree was chopped down to become a canoe. This is where we get into the respect for all things, living and dead. We don't shoot animals to hang their heads on a wall. We don't fish the streams until there are no longer any fish. We don't chop down trees just to be chopping down trees. If we're going to chop a tree down, we talk to the tree people. Osquani, we call them Osquani. We tell them that we're going to take one of their people and it'll become a beautiful canoe or a house such as this. We talk to the tree people. We tell them we're going to take it. So when that canoe is finished, they have another ceremony. They give the canoe a name, just like a human being, out of respect for that tree. That tree was once a living thing. That tree deserves to live just like you do. So they treat that tree like a human being. So that canoe is given a name. When that canoe gets too old to be of any use, Then they get the opposite moiety to chop it up and burn it, cremate it. They cremate it like a human being. They have a ceremony, just like you would with a human being, out of respect for that tree. This is what the Tlingit nation is built around, respect. Respect for all things. And this is why we do the things that we do. I don't know if many of you were at the program last night when the killer whale people passed on the regalia, to at.oow, to a new caretaker. And you will probably never see another one in your lifetime. The way that they done it last night was proper. And you'll never forget it if you've seen it, if you watched it. This is out of respect for everything. Those things that they had to have. They have names for it. There was a lot of money spent on making those things happen. So that's why they have these things. So I don't know if we have any more canoes. We have any more, George, you're here, right? George Ramos? Did he go? Okay, what we're going to do is we got some people here that'll represent Canoes. We will go through the ceremony and we'll have the Kiks.adi Ray. Can you come down, please? You never come to the beach with a boat. Even though you were invited, you still don't come to the beach unless they tell you, they welcome you ashore. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be going through the ceremony. This is Ray Wilson, is the leader of the Kiks.adi people. This land is the Kiks.adi land. So we're going to be approaching this land that belongs to the Kiks.adi. So do we have any more canoe people? I don't know if the people that are out of state, I think there was one from Boston and another one from Seattle. Are you people there? If you're here, you can come down and get in one of these canoes. These paddles that you see them holding, when the canoe was built here in Sitka, and the canoe was given a name, there was people invited to witness this canoe. And paddles were made. Paddles were made by the different clans, different organizations here in Sitka. And you will see the painting on each paddle, which represents a different group of people here in Sitka. So this is ceremonial paddles. We don't use that for racing or anything like that. We bring this out when we're having a ceremony. The big one we give to the strongest man. The big one is the captain's paddle, and he steers. That man is without a paddle. You're just going to ride with one of those guys? You'll have to respond to the Kiks.adi, so if you can somebody get this man a paddle? This is my brother-in-law. We want to send him out to sea without a paddle. You got the high-speed paddle. Okay, what about those guys there? Where are you from? Seattle? Oh, by golly. Okay, while I have the attention of the people in the boat, you will respond when I ask you where the boats are from. You will in turn answer where you're from, one at a time, all the way down. And then after that, there's supposed to be a dancer with feather in shakir who's supposed to dance in front of us to represent peace. Now you're going to be coming ashore. So then I will invite you ashore. Or not me. Wait a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. You will speak in turn to the Kiks.adi. Remember, you're doing this out of respect. So your words will be directed at the Kiks.adi people. And he will respond to each one of your speeches. So that part, and then when that's done, and then I invite you ashore. And we say, Yan deyagach yikuch, ya tu yakay leo, hinak yidagach tu tashat. Welcome, come ashore now. Over here is a good place to land your boat, and we'll share some fresh water with you. We give everybody in a canoe fresh water to share. Along with the people on the beach, we share the water. And usually that's spring water. And there was supposed to be water here, but, oh, yeah, there is right here. Right here behind me, and we're supposed to have some young ladies. Young ladies who will give fresh water to the paddlers. Can we get some young ladies down here? You don't have to be very young. I just used that phrase. Just over here on this side. Can we have some more young ladies? When we're doing this, the young ladies that you pick, this is what always gets me in trouble. You pick the pretty ladies to do this for your guests. Since you're the host, it's the host over here. So they pick pretty ladies to serve the guests. And if there's going to be a wedding, and the bride is in that canoe, the host will send his warriors out there, his people, to grab the canoe and pick it up with that person in there and bring it up here to the Kiks.adi people. There are many things that we do out of respect. This is out of respect for the person that's going to be married. You bring up the canoe and everything, right to the Kiks.adi, or maybe the groom is standing up here too. So that's what they're going to do. How many people? We must have more young ladies than that here. Okay, is that enough for all the paddlers? Okay, now you're going to be visiting the Kiks.adi people, their land. And the Kiks.adi is here. And you will speak to the Kiks.adi people. You will speak to the person representing the Kiks.adi people. So you will direct your comments to the Kiks.adi and this man right here. So you have been invited to this land. Even though you've been invited, you'll still go through the same ceremony. If you have not been invited, then you have to be careful. But you have been invited. So we'll begin. Kutahayok saya!
Puget Sound, request permission to come ashore on your land.
Kiks.adi, Anecdote, Kent, Washington. We need to come to the family. We are welcome. We are wanting to quench our thirst, and we appreciate your invitation. Kiks.adi.
We want to welcome all of you to the shores of the land that our ancestors walked on. You're all welcome to come ashore. We know that you were invited, and we want you to know that we respect the way that you've come to us and to ask permission. This is the way things are done, and it makes us feel good that you're here and that you're asking our permission to come ashore.
Now he has invited you ashore. Yantayakach yikoch. Ya tu yakayet leo. Hinak ijidakach tutashat. You have been invited ashore. Over here is a good place to land your boats. It's a good sandy beach. We will share some water with you. So Yantayakach yikoch. Pay that. Come ashore over here. Ladies, pick up your water. Share water. As you pull it, your boat's way up on the beach. some things that are happening. I don't know if it's still available. The Forest Service has offered us 3 trees, 6 foot in diameter, 50 and 60 feet long. These are ocean-going canoes. I don't know if they're still available, but if we ever get them, we'll be able to go out in the ocean with those canoes. There's a story out of Sitka. This is a Kiks.adi story. Belongs to this clan here. If I make a mistake, please forgive me. That was his name. He's out there in the ocean, hunting sea otter. And a storm came up. The boat was getting full of water. So the only way they could get that boat out of the water was to put the sail up. The wind was very strong. So they had a strong man on board. They told him to put the sail up. So he grabbed the sail and put it. Sail filled out, and the boat took off, and the water ran out. All the people in the boat, they put the paddles over the side, feathered, acting like a keel. The boat was going. It stayed in the storm. They did not know where they were going. They just stayed in the storm. I don't know how many days they were out there. But when the storm quit, there was an island. Very good island. There's nobody there. So they went ashore. They didn't know where they were at. So every morning they would come out and look at the stars, trying to figure out where they're at. After so many years, they decided which way to go to get home. They were out in Hawaii. The first tourists out in Hawaii were the Kiks.adi people. When they figured out which way to go, then they decided to prepare. They prepared to come back. They figured out how to use a compass, a Tlingit custom, compass at sea. When you're out in the ocean, everything looks the same. You can't see no mountains, nothing. You don't know which way you're heading. So they had a long string. They used a sea line hide. They cut it in a circle. They towed that. And when it's real long, you watch the end of the string. If it started to curl at the end, you turn the canoe until that string is straight. That's the compass. It kept going in a straight line. Now, I don't know how they done this. They had a bamboo and fill it with sand. And they used this long strings. At night, when you want to take a rest, you lower this down, this bamboo, way down where the water pressure is so strong that it'll crush anything. But they had sand in there, so it didn't crush bamboo, but it held them in one place. Sea anchor. Now, how did they figure these things out? Our ancestors are very smart. I keep talking about them. They figured out many things that they passed on to us. A lot of it we don't use. And I think it's time that we start to use some of these things that they have passed on to us. So the reason why we're going through this ceremony with the canoe is so you can get the respect. How the people respected each other. This ceremony wasn't done just for show. It was done out of respect for each other. Now, I was told about this, that if you should be walking in the woods and you meet a whole bunch of people coming your way, who gets out of the way? Who stands aside? And what do you say? So there's a way to do that. So that's the same way with the canoe paddles. You do it the same way. somebody has to stand aside. Somebody has to speak. And somebody has to speak first. All that has already been set up by our people. Who's going to speak first? And what they're going to say. So that's why we do some of these things. When we were growing up, they said, you're going to be a teacher one of these days. You'll be teaching different things. And they said, don't teach just our people. Don't teach just our kids. Teach anybody that listen. Once they know why we do the things we do, they'll start to look at us different. That is happening now. In the school districts, school teachers are starting to see the interest, the teaching that goes on with our Tlingit people. The Kiks.adi people, Ray, he works in a school district. And he works with the young people. There's one thing about the young people, they'll pick up whatever it is that we're teaching them right away. And then they rush home to tell their parents. They'll be talking to their parents and the parents don't know what they're talking about. Because the parents don't know. They can get it. And the sad part about it is that they don't care. We're trying to reach the parents so they can take time with their children on anything that they have learned. So our kids can continue this teaching that goes on in a school district. There are many places that are teaching, talking about Tlingit things. We want to keep doing this. But we have to start reaching the parents. We have, where's the out of state? I didn't get where you're from. Huh? Carcross. Do they have canoes up there?
No choice.
Not too many, huh? Okay, so this thing that we do is not only for canoes, it's for everything that we do. The respect, I want you to understand the respect that we have for each other. So when we meet you, when you come to our country, we show you our respect. And we do that everywhere. So I want people to understand that. Was there out-of-state people there too? I ran into somebody here that was from Boston. I don't know if that person's still here.
We are two of us are from Boston.
Where?
Two of us are from Boston, so I'm from Boston.
From Boston? Would you come up here, please? Hey, I recognize you. This is Ray Wilson. He's the head of the Kiks.adi people. And you are now in their land. And that's what it is. So you can understand the respect that is happening when things like this is going on. Are you, will you know all of those? Those people from Seattle too, aren't they?
Yes.
Are they here, people from Seattle? There's one man and I guess 3 ladies. Maybe they went home already. Okay, if you have any questions or comments, you can do that now, direct him at that guy right there. This is our sergeant major, so I always pick on him.
Paul, can you talk a little bit about canoe haul-outs? Canoe haul-outs, how they're prepared?
You're talking about building a canoe?
No, haul-out, Paul, haul-out. Ownership of canoe haul-outs, how they're prepared?
Valley, your first question, I'm already stumped. I have to apologize because I cannot hear you.
I just wanted to say something. Can I say something? Okay.
I just wanted to say to Ray that Kiks.adi.
But a Chief, the land of the Kiks.adi. My name is Kiks.adi. Daktain Tan, Daktain Hipwish Kiktan Yadi. Huna Ayakhat, Juno Ayakhat, South Washington, South Puget Sound, Kwan Ayakhat. I came after 30 years in the military. I retired in Washington. And I didn't know Ray was living down there at the time. And I saw him dancing. My brother, Pedro Barril, was dancing with a dance group. And I was lost. After 30 years in the military and leaving Alaska in the early 60s, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, I'm just young at heart. I found that I was not grounded. After all the travels in the world, my spirit was still wandering around, not knowing where to go. But after seeing Ray and my brother dancing in Seattle, trying to teach the young people there the culture because they lived away from their home, it kind of struck me. And I found out that this is the way I needed to go. I thought I knew everything after traveling around the world for 30 years, but I was humbled. And I was humbled here on Thursday when I listened to all the protocols and all the speeches that were made by the head of houses. And it's hard to speak when you're in a house with so much knowledge and so much status. I love to dance, as some of you have seen. And if I ever get a chance and the drum starts beating, I just get up and dance. That's just the way I am. I think my grandma used to tell me that's not him dancing, that's the spirit. So when people tell me, where did you learn how to dance? I just tell them, that's not me dancing, That's the spirit of my ancestors that have come to take over my body. That's who's dancing. So I have fun when I'm dancing, and I really appreciate the hospitality of Sitka and the Kiks.adi people who have brought us here to this box of knowledge, because I have learned many things in the last 2 days, which I'll take back home to Washington, where I work with 25 other dancers. Sometimes we don't do things right down there because our knowledge is extremely limited when we're living in the city. Well, thank God for the internet, we can pull up a lot of things. But again, goodness cheese, Ray, and goodness cheese, people of Sitka, for your warm hospitalities. Goodness cheese, you know, Ray.
I've watched that man dance, and he puts a lot into it. That dancing reminds me of my nephew. My nephew is a very good dancer. So I mentioned that to him one time. I said, by golly, you're a very good dancer when you walk in when we're at a parade. He said, I'm not dancing. He said, all I'm doing is dodging the raindrops. But I think I finally figured out that question. Where the canoes are pulled out below the clan houses, there's people that bought up waterfront property. I know in Yakutat that where the community houses used to be, right down from there was a beach where they pulled the boats up. Don't belong to them anymore. The land that I have there, where Jimmy Jackson, who raised me, is the Nishkakwan, not Nishkakwan, Kanekwan. And he had a place on a beach where he cleared the rocks. And that's where he pulled his boat up. But that land no longer belongs to them. It was sold and bought by somebody, I don't know who. So that's what happens to a lot of our clan houses. In Haynes, below our clan houses was a smokehouse and a place where we pulled up our boats. That land was sold. We can't pull up, we even took away our smokehouse. So we had to fight to get the smokehouse back to the Raven House. But we do have the smokehouse again, but we don't no longer have the beach property. So I don't know if there's anything that can be done about that, but at least we let people know what is happening. Is that a question up there? Was that what you're asking? Anyone, one of the votes here, want to speak?
Goodness cheese, Kiks.adi, my grandfather's people. I heard the story that Paull was talking about the Tlingit people made this long journey to Hawaii. There are petroglyphs, there are paintings, there are carvings in Hawaii of the war canoes that came from this part of the country. I want to thank you very much for letting us come to visit here in your land. Goedsten ka je doosag, je pak doosag. Tata kwan Kiks.adi, ay gaat. Kiks.adi, ay gaat. Hawaiian, yadi, ay gaat. Kiks.adi, Dutch hunt, ay gaat. I have they say it's always good to talk about a little humor. That's not only in the Tlingit culture, it's also in the Hawaiian culture. My father was a full-blooded Hawaiian. And when I went home to visit on my father's side, I had always heard my father talking about the fun and the love and the songs. So when I went to Hawaii, I was looking for a big welcome. And the first thing they did is they told me I was an Eskimo. I said, oh. They wanted to know, just like they asked George Ramos, do you live in a snow house? Do you eat whale blubber? I said, yeah. Yeah, we do all those things. One of the things that happened was that I was raised by my uncles, and I had 9 uncles and 3 brothers, and I was the youngest. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be the only one left. But what would happen, though, is that when I was going to school, they sent me to the Catholic mission in Skagway. They took us away from our family. And while I was there, I met some of my cousins from Yucatan. And of course, we were very small, very young. They said, how did your father meet your mother? How did he get here? And I thought for a long time, I said, by boat. When my father left Hawaii, aloha nui ake mai. Aloha. Mahalo. My dad left when he was very young. His name was Kiamoko Kemawana Kamwela. Kamwela is Samuel, Kiamoko is George. My real name is Kioki Kanikau Kamwela. Kioki is George. My uncles used to tell me about this little story, and that was when my dad left home, he was in a little bit of trouble. He thought he had killed someone over, of course, a woman. And back then, all the Hawaiians were like brothers, like us. And they had the shipping papers. And when they got tired of shipping, they would give one of their papers to their brother or their cousin, and it would take their place, and they would go. And this is what happened to my father. He went to San Francisco, and When he got there, he got on one of the oilers that was coming up this way. He stopped off in Ketchikan just to unload the oil, and he met my mother. And he fell in love. When my grandmother found his son, young Katzeek, she cut up his papers so he couldn't sail anymore. Canoes, huh?
Well, good afternoon. We'll sit a little longer. However, Tlingit culture, as he says, is based on respect. The first thing that comes to mind is the protocol that's passed on to us. Like I said this morning, the elders who have gone through that are long gone. And we always say now, how I hope just once one of them would come back and tell us again the story of these things. The two important things when you take a canoe to somebody else's land and the messenger has gone out a year ahead of time asking you to come to a potlatch or eat, and whose house is going to be held in, at what time, on what moon. All of the moons have a name. The protocol starts there. The messenger comes outside of the community house and he hits the drum. And he asks for the housemaster. Master comes to the door, and the Nakani messenger tells him he is invited to such and such a community at such and such a time on the moon. And when your canoes come out there, like he said, they stop out there. Like I said, even if you know the people on there, you still go through the protocol. And the protocol is the host calls out, "Where is this boat from?" And the head man talks back like we carry our paddles with the head man for each one of the canoes, and we tell him. And he'll ask, "Where do you come from and what tribe are you?" And you tell him. Even if he knows, this protocol is followed. And if they are strangers, you ask, "What are you going to do in our land?" Because land ownership is the first law of the Tlingit nation. You don't come into my land until I give you permission. We can make a trade-off. You can hunt mountain goats in my land. I want to get hooligans from your land, or I want to get herring eggs from your land. Anything beyond that, if you just come, you are violating the #1 law of Tlingit. After he recognizes them, then they sing the welcome song. And then the invited guests sing their welcome song. And the most important part of this is then the eagle down is put on the water. remember, the eagle down signifies peace. He is saying to you people in a boat, as long as you are on my land, no harm will come to you, because the signal of peace is put in there. You people have seen the peace dance. I'd like to tell you a little story about it. Take more time. When you meet on a trail and you're moving through, going trail, and you meet whoever owns the land will call out, "Tlingit!" Are you people Tlingit people, or whatever nation we know them? And they go through the ceremony of greeting, and then they tell them, "We would like to have you come to Nakahiti at such and such a time." All of the people that come in sit on that side, all of the hosts sit on this side. The main purpose of that is to have the peace dance. And that's what you see at celebration when they do the peace dance. But in this instance, the two leaders were sitting together, and the peace dance started. The young man came in. From the minute he came in, all the feathers from his headdress were flying all over the place. That was an embarrassment to the people they had invited. You generally come across the floor and you go back. And as you're starting back, a little puff of the feathers will come out. And you go across that way, and then all the way across, as you're going across. Just so a little bit out. But this young boy came in, and feathers started flying all over the place. The embarrassed host, seeing what happened, he leaned over to the people who come to his land, and he said, "Cha te u," "Cha te u," because he had broken a protocol by throwing feathers all over the place. And he told him, "Cha te u, hat to seek our steen." He did not see his grandfathers, this young man. So he did not know how it was done. The feathers has to go between the two, meaning that no harm will come to you as long as you are on our land. And that was really big. I'd like to leave that with you, because now we are sharing our knowledge with you. And after you get back, you're going to have this pile of protocols, because our life that is taught to us, our heritage that is taught to us, our culture that is taught to us, from the time we are small and we grow up through it, is the way it is referred. As you are starting now, you're already this big. You're not going to go through it. You're not going to grow up through it. And the whole thing looks like, well, actually it looks like a mess. You'll have to weed it out. And then you'll have to study another 50 years like we did to understand it. And so I think it's time for a change.
Ujihui shutu asak, yak tata, luknachati ahe, luknachati shate hani ahe. Achue lachet usikuya Tlingit dot. I would like to add a little bit more to what he spoke about the eagle down. There's a speech that goes with it. The eagle down is saying, if we should offend you or embarrass you in any way, let it touch you lightly, like the feather. That's why that's done. If we have embarrassed you or offended you in any way, let it touch you lightly, like the feathers. I would like to do a commercial here. The commercial is, every year in Seattle area, where that man talked about, they have what they call canoe journey. There are 30 canoes that took place the last time that they done this. I don't know, every year it goes up. 1,000 people, paddlers, go down there, and they travel from one village to the next. Every village, they stop, and they party, they sing, dance, and they do things like we're doing now, trading stories. 5 days. We're trying to get a group together to be able to make this trip. We have a dedicated canoe here in Sitka that we're asking if we can take that canoe down. It is the name of that canoe is I don't know, Kostahiniya. Boy, these senior moments are getting closer together. They have invited us to come down. So we're raising money now to try to make it down there. Maybe this year we will not make it with a canoe, but we want to send some people down to take part in what they're doing. The whole thing behind it is to stay sober, no alcohol, no drugs. That's the reason for that whole journey that they do. And I believe it's a very good reason for us to take part in that kind of a journey. I know we have problems with our own people. And I know how hard it is to get out of it. By golly, I was the best alcoholic there ever was. And I earned enough money, I made a lot of money, I didn't care anything about that, but the alcohol was there. So I know how hard it is to get away from it. When you become an alcoholic, the craving is very strong. So we have to start helping our people. We can't expect people to do things for us. We have to start doing things ourselves. Because we understand each other. We understand each other a lot better. By coming to these things like we're doing now, we have learned more from each other. We understand a little bit more. So that's why we have to start doing things ourselves. I appreciate, and we all appreciate all the things that's been done for us. But I think we can start doing things for ourselves. More for ourselves. And I didn't know my uncle was here, David. I didn't see you over there. I can't see very well neither. I can't hear, I can't see, and I don't know what else is wrong with me. But I'd like to invite you up here if you'd like to come up and speak a little bit. David?
Ach ishas kanach teidi, so ach ishas kanach adi, so ach ishas deshitam, ach lish kohas lekach adi, ach klas lish kohas tak dentam, ach da kanuku Kiks.adi, stakat tlaine di. Gunnal Chisha we adayai da hunya, Gunnal Chisha anyat husani. Ye awahwa ach lish gunchaku akan. Ach ina kaushini. Ye awayawaka. De awayanuani wede adayakahi adya yanuani. Achawe ach tuch lichish yaigi yagi chantchogudi anyat kusani. Hasawe ach hasausi tu ach yukatangi ka ach kustiyi. Achawe ach tu yakegi yata posteni klik kleine di gunal chisha ho gunal chish. Ach kak kani yan stuk nach andi. Gunas Chisha, Gunas Chish. Thank you very much, noble children of the earth. I'm glad that I can be here to look at my father's kinsmen from the Kiks.adi, Kiks.adi, and the Deshitan clan. And I'm also really pleased to look among you and see those of you that are Dakdaintan, my mother's grandparents. Thank you. And then to look and see Ellen here and my grandpa here of the Kiks.adi clan and all the other ravens. Gu dak yak saya ye awachwa ach. Ye chwa ach gu dak yak saya. What I heard was, where is this boat coming from? We're a people that came and settled this land by boats. We're not a coastal people going down the coast, from what I heard regarding my grandparents and other people who talked. We have songs about the seafaring songs coming up. Nan dekanadenicha, nan dekanadeni. When the tide begins to flow northward, detish kothlajak. Person that composed the song said, the tide is flowing northward, and already I'm beginning to feel the loneliness in my heart. And it's like it's going to kill me because I'm leaving the ones that I love to move on. The translator will say, where's the boat from? When we talk about a boat, we're talking about the way we came, how we came. We're talking about all the issues that we faced, all the challenges that we had, all the pain and all the joy and all the happiness that we had. And so when they called out the name, when they would say to me, Gu Dachyak Saya, I would say, Chishka Dachaya, Ha Kutua Tin Shanguke. When I'd say Shanguke, those who know my clan will know the history, they'll know my family, they'll know who was coming. And they would respond back, Goodness Chisha, Iatina Geade Yanuani Yawede. Do you see how the path has already been prepared? When I say I'm from Chishkat, I'm talking about the history of our people. I'm not talking about a geographic place, although that's part of it. And to me, this is really, really important, and I'm going to finish by saying this. When we translate, We need to get into the depth of the word as opposed to the easy literal translation, like the word toha'ak, the word that was used yesterday that Hans Chester was able to speak out. There's history in that name. To just say it's a biological part of the body type of thing is really not giving justice to the name Toha'ak. So when they say whose boat is coming here, for example, if Paull was saying that, and Ray was saying that, what would happen in his heart a long time ago? And he said, "Where's this boat coming from?" And I said, he would realize right away that his grandson, his great-great-great-grandson is coming to visit him. And he would say, "Ha, Yankoch, come ashore." With joy. That's not just a tradition, it's respect, yes. But when we say what we're saying I'm from the Chilkat Valley, and I'm coming here, and he, being my great-great-grandfather, would be happy and say, "Oh, good, come ashore." So that's all that I want to share right now. I know you guys are running about maybe 4 hours behind now. But at the same time, I think it's important that I share that little thought. And you know what? There's none of us, I want to say this really clearly, there's none of us here perfect. We make mistakes, I make mistakes. And I'm probably the chiefest among you in making mistakes. And I don't say that to put myself down. I say that because that's the way I learn. But we need to communicate with one another in a loving, kind, affectionate, and nurturing way to help each other. Otherwise, if we do it in a mean way, we're only going to hurt our own grandchildren, our own father's kinsmen, our own great-grandparents, and our own children. So I say that the path has already been prepared, and it's a way in which we would walk. And I need to say this, because this lady's my grandpa's people. Ruth, I'm sorry for your great loss. Too unique. I'm sorry for the loss of your daughter. And this is culture, what I'm doing here. So I want you to know that your boat is really pretty tough right now. To lose your own child, that's got to be rough waters. I'm going to be with you. And this is the way of our culture. We're talking about a boat. A boat comes through rough waters. So thank you very much. You're in my prayers. I hold you in high esteem. Gunaschish. Oh.
I always like to listen to the words that he has to say. You know, those words that I listen to, many times I learn from it. And I hope that some of you that are here tonight or today have learned something, maybe just a little bit of something. And that word that I'd like you to remember is respect. Respect for all things, living and dead. We have to use that word. We have to live by it. And that's what this whole thing is about, that we're here learning about each other. and then using that word respect. I would like to thank some people. I have a lot of problems, medical and all kinds of problems. And I get a lot of help from people. And I never get a chance to thank them. And our way, Tlingit way, you don't write a note thanking them. You do it in front of people. That way it has more feeling. More. That's why I'd like to do this now. I have a brother here. His name is David. How good. This is David Hunsaker. He's been adopted by Austin Hammond. Because of his interest in our culture, all the interest that he had, he wrote for us. He wrote plays for us. He done many things. He's helped us at the cultural camp. He has worked up there building our houses. All these things that he has done. And we never pay him anything. So I'd like to thank you, David, in front of all these people. Thank you for all the help and all the things that you have done for us.
I've been thanked so many times over just by being able to share in this incredible culture and this living culture that I've been so fortunate to have been adopted into and have lived most of my life among. So I thank you and all of you. Thank you.
I don't know if his wife is here. Is Annie here? Kusue? How good? Is Annie here? Oh. This is David's wife. Is he a lucky guy? Annie has been very helpful to our community in Juneau, all over, I imagine, by supporting all the teaching, the education programs that takes place in all the places that she goes. And she has been the superintendent of the education department, I guess, is that what we call it? Yeah. Anyway, she's been very good to our people. And she and David come up to the camp, and they've worked very hard cleaning up that place. And I've always appreciated what they do for our people. Not only physical work, but all the paperwork they have to do to bring the money in and the different things that has to go on to keep our education going. And she's very good at doing that. So I'd like to thank Annie for doing the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Paull. That's a great honor and privilege to be here, as it has been to work with so many of you for a long time, and I will continue to do so. Thank you very much.
We can tell right away she's not Tlingit because their speech is how short. I really appreciate people like that, and Jim, where's Jim at? Jim is another person here who works very hard with our people and our culture. He's here right now working with us. And please stand up so we can recognize you. This is Jim.
so much love and knowledge. It's been a wonderful part of my life.
I scared the heck out of Jim here about 2 weeks ago, where he's working. We're up there having coffee, and I passed out. That happens to me every so often. You know, before, it used to cost me a lot of money to pass out. And the next day I'd have such a hangover. But now it happens to me, I don't even plan it, I just go conk, and I'm out. Well, Jim and I were having coffee and I passed out. So I think I scared the heck out of him that time. As they held me out to the hospital and they done what they're supposed to. Well, we know that humor in a Tlingit culture is very high. So we always try to bring that out. When we're doing things like this, that is very serious, we always like to stick in a little bit of humor now and then. This is a true story I'm going to tell you. It's because it's being told by a raven, which I am, and we never lie. We don't exaggerate. And we never go hungry. Just about 3 or 4 months ago, I moved into a place where it's called Fireweed, where the old people stay. I had to lie about my age to get in there. It's a very nice place, it's comfortable, it's nice and warm and everything. And I'm up there and my son is always checking up on me. So he called me on the phone, on a cell phone. So I'm ready to go to bed. I took my pills and everything. So I'm talking to him, and when we got done, I hit the off button on the cell phone. Well, I can't see the cell phone. I didn't know which button I hit, but it didn't turn off. So the first thing that come to their mind was that I passed out again, you know. So his wife, my daughter-in-law, is always worried about me. So right away she panicked, she called 911. So you go down and check on, they told them where to go to check on. And I'm already in bed. I took my pills, so I passed out. And I'm comfortable laying there. And I'm laying there minding my own business, sleeping. All of a sudden I wake up and here's these people trying to drag me out of bed. They're trying to put me in the stretcher. And by golly, I fought. As they tried to drag me out the door, boy, I was hanging on to everything I could. I told this story to my daughter-in-law. I really appreciate the way that they always worry about me. And she was rolling around on the floor laughing so hard. And you know, ravens, you know, they got to tie a little bit more extra onto it. You know? They don't tell a straight story. That's not enough. But that's one of those things that happens to me, and so I always appreciate coming to Sitka. It's not the place itself. It's the people that I appreciate here in Sitka. I lived here for a while. I lived on a tugboat right down here in the harbor. And I really enjoyed being here and getting to meet and working with people here in Sitka. And I always appreciate that. They have so many things going, such as what we're doing right now, where other people don't. They're doing things like this all the time. Some things always to come up that they do. And the whole place takes part in it. I was telling you about the canoe, our canoe, the Kiks.adi, the canoe that was built here. And Alan Marine, I think you all know Alan Marine. The guy who owns Alan Marine, I think his name is Bob, if I remember right, Bob Allen. He always supported the canoe club. Right now, he's taking care of the canoe. He's got it in his warehouse. He doesn't ask for anything. He just helps us along. So that's the way it is with a lot of people that I know who help us out, help me out. And a lot of times I never get a chance to thank these people that are always helping us. And they don't ask for anything. But for some reason, I cannot see putting a thank you note in the newspaper. I think the thank yous should be done in front of people. People like here. When we feel that way about somebody, thanking them in front of people like this is the way it should be done. And we got to do that with our children also. When our children do something wrong, we spank them in public. When you do something right, you take them home and you tell them how good they are. You got to do it the other way. When you do something right, you better bring them out wherever they're at and thank them in public. So the rest of the people can know how you feel about them. I don't know if you know Al Gray. He lives here in town. Anyway, he has got a granddaughter who's doing real well in school. So he bought her one of those octopus bags. And Al was talking to me. He says, I got this to my granddaughter. I'm going to give it to her at Christmas time. I said, boy, that's great. She should be very happy to get this. But I said, instead of at Christmas, why don't you give it to her in front of the school people, all the school? Give it to her in front of all the people and tell them how you feel about her. And that's what he did. And that young lady, by golly, she was the happiest person around. She carried that purse every place she went. By the way, that purse used to be a Nakani uniform. The men used to carry that. But now it has been taken away from us. Because I guess it looks much better on a woman carrying a purse than a man. At least I think so. Anyway, we're very, very glad. I'm very glad that we finally got a chance to do this. And last night when they were going to do this, and the time wasn't there, but we know that Mark Jacobs, what they did for Mark Jacobs last night, and with that ooh, that was more important than what we were doing. So we were very glad to give it up, so don't feel bad about it. People who organized this, don't feel bad that we had to give up our time. This time here is perfect, this time is good. We had a very good time here. And the canoes, they're very good canoes. One of these days they're going to race. I thank you all. Chish. Katihan Anyatkusani, Yakati, I Yukatisi Ahe, Katihan, Yakasan, Uzo, Chish, Katihan, Kiks.adi, Chishiayat, Tachikuti, Chish, Katihan, Yayak, okay. Good.